What an interesting week. For those of you who don't follow the progressive chapter of YouTube, you know that Cenk Uygur from TYT is running for Congress for a while now, several weeks in fact, and he was able to get the endorsements this week of Nina Turner, Ro Khanna, and most importantly, Bernie Sanders. And everybody got so excited, and we were all uh, cheering up and whatnot. But then there was a resurfacing of the scandal that led him to step down as part of the leadership of Justice Democrats in December of 2017, almost 2 years ago. And Bernie retracted his endorsement. And I have a big problem with this. Um, because again, this retraction happened after people went, hey, you know about those posts that Cenk wrote 20 years ago, right? In 99 and 2000. Uh, what do you have to say for that? And I've seen some liberals or progressives try to say, oh, well, he took away his endorsement because he doesn't want them to use this against him. And they're trying to say, oh, well, it's kind of like a belated, sort of reluctant thing he did for the sake of ensuring that he wouldn't get smeared as well or have Cenk be used against him. There is one character trait of Trump that I really like, and I think a lot of people would be better off if they imitated. You'll notice that Trump has seen people who've said, get rid of Stephen Miller, get rid of Bannon, get rid of Tillerson, get rid of all these different cabinet members and officials in the White House, right? Even campaign people like Lewandowski. And 99% of the time, I actually can think of a single instance where all that pressure actually made him say, hey, you're taking too much attention and people won't leave me alone about you, you're fired. He doesn't do that. And people can say that's due to stubbornness, that's due to thinking that he's right on everything, but when you have a media that is supposed to be our enemy, we talk about the media as opposed to single payer. That's why they go after its advocates. They love the price gouging system. They're opposed to anti-war positions. That's why they're going after Tulsi so much. When you're aware that these people are your adversaries, there's no reason to treat them as if their words actually matter. The only thing the media is good for is covering any campaign that, is supported by progressives. That's it. As far as, oh man, well, I guess I better fire uh, this one campaign worker because Chuck Todd said he doesn't like him, or he asked me how I can say I'm supportive of women's rights when this person wrote in a post 20 years ago that they think they should be like Saudi Arabia so you can get a date easier. You can't let that deter you from that person's work, especially if they're saying that they renounced that position and it was as long ago as it was. Remember, the Justice Democrats are the same people, and really Democrats in general, to show you just how hypocritical they are. They don't get mad at Warren for being a Republican 20 years ago. They don't get mad at Oprah for supporting Iraq at one point. But again, these people are allowed to have their character arcs because they're in the acceptable parameters of what is wanted. They don't get mad at, especially for progressives, they don't get mad at Presley for endorsing Clinton and saying that she was as progressive as Sanders or also progressive or, whatever little lies she had to tell herself to pull that endorsement off. But if you ever want to figure out just how much of a repeated pattern this is, where the Sanders campaign bends over to the media, look at what they did to Matt Orfalea. This was a guy who made an ad to show how much the media goes after Sanders, and he got hired by the campaign. They dig up a video from 10, 11 years ago where he changed some Martin Luther King speech for the purpose of showing how videos can be edited and doctored. And Sanders' campaign got rid of him. So this is all part of a pattern where the anti-establishment people start groveling for a bunch of clowns on TV. And then the supporters of these people will go on channels and go, well, come on, give Bernie a break. What was he supposed to do? Stand by Cenk. Cenk stood by him the last election cycle when he was getting accused of being sexist just for running against the neoliberal tyrant that is Clinton. He stood by him this election cycle when he was smeared as wanting the Boston bomber to vote. That's the whole point of being a progressive. You don't abandon your candidates like that because some idiots on the stupid talking box decided that they're not good enough or they're not the right people for you to be around with. You tell them to go to hell. I've said before, I don't like the cutthroat nature of the progressives because I think we mistake critique and supporting these people for their positions with there's this fine line between never abandoning a candidate no matter what, which is what a lot of Trump supporters do, where I've literally showed them proof of how certain things did not turn out the way he said, and they'll still go, oh, I still back him, I still support him. And we don't want to be like that, but there's so many different people who are part of this group that just will throw away any person that they feel like because of reasons. They come up with something in their head and they go, oh, well, this person is no longer good enough. I literally saw someone who said that Sanders has enough things that he's getting critiqued over. He doesn't need to be weighed down by Cenk. I was like, well, he wasn't weighed down by him when he had Cenk speak at a campaign event for him in the last election cycle. And these posts existed then. Now, granted, that was a year before they resurfaced. But I can't believe you're going to let who you back be dictated by a bunch of people who are supposed to be your enemies. Like right now, if I endorse Cenk, let's say I'm some big politician that says, well, Justin endorsed Cenk, and then they go, I wonder if some editorial for New York Times says, I wonder if he's aware of Cenk's sexual comments that he made, and when Justin was 2 and 99, and then the response would be, yeah, and I don't care. You're not exactly telling me anything new here, but if anyone actually came up and tried to write some stuff and make me feel bad for backing a candidate I agree with on the issues, I would turn a blind eye to their critique. And that's what should be done here. You can't have people who keep bending over every time there's a little bit of pressure exhibited. I had one video last year. I think it was there was some speech Trump gave or whatever, but I said it was garbage. So I didn't like it. I didn't talk for that long. It was kind of brief, and I had maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 of his supporters come on there writing all this stuff. You don't know what you're talking about. Trump was great. And it did nothing, even with the downvotes going like crazy, to dissuade my position. That speech sucked. It was the reverse of good. And his backers just had to deal with it. That they had to face the fact that no matter how much stuff they wrote to me, it wasn't going to change my mind. And that's how progressive should be. You should, if you back Sanders or you back Cenk or whoever the hell, you should be able to sit there and look at the people who are critiquing him, shrug your shoulders, and not care what they say. There were people in the comment section telling Sanders, Cenk said this. How could you support Cenk? And he should have just, if he wanted to respond to the controversy of the comments that he made, said, I don't agree with those past comments, but guess what? Neither does he. They were 20 years ago. Get over it. Cry me a river. Attack me for what I say, not for what someone else does. But it's that same guilt by association thing that they use against Tulsi, and they tried to use against Trump. Oh, you got endorsed by David Duke. Are you going to disavow him 99 times? Huh? Like, they're all playing the same game, and I told you, it's directed at these people because they're always worried what happens if they get into power, what happens if, one of them is able to get in a position to actually do something or affect change. Just like with me, if I were, let's say, I don't know, maybe if I had 200, 300,000 subs and I ran for Congress, they would bring up the romance stuff. They go, do you know that Justin said that he thinks a lot of modern women are idiots? And then I would respond by saying, I think they make decisions with their romantic lives that are not very bright. I would not renounce my comments. I wouldn't go, oh, well, I said that 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't feel that way now. I would defend myself because I'm not ashamed of what I've put on here in any vocal form. But more importantly, if they use that to say to someone who endorses me, like Sanders or whatever, just on the assumption that he would, he should have enough courage to say those comments have nothing to do with this campaign, uh, and nothing to do with any ideology, so they're irrelevant. But we're in the era of endorsements equal a complete and total agreement with someone on every single issue. That's why I had a person who came over to my channel. A social democrat who likes Medicare and Medicaid, Head Start, these different programs that were started under LBJ, and this person goes, "You said you like Johnson, so I guess you're a Vietnam War supporter." Like, it's one, you're trying to now pretend as if his entire was that one thing by itself. So again, this is what they do when people want to try and find a reason to have a problem with you. They'll look through whoever you have any kind of association with. So this is a mistake. Sanders screwed up. His campaign people who told him to take away his endorsement of Cenk messed up. Everybody they got it wrong.